What's up, you chunky monkeys? Look, if you do sales, you get a think about it objection or some sort of delay objection, and you don't know how to work through them, and you're missing out on a bunch of sales, or maybe you have sales guys and they get a bunch of think about it objections, and you're not sure how to overcome them or how to get rid of them entirely. This video is for you. I'm gonna go into how I've trained hundreds of sales reps and how I've done literally over 15,000 sales calls myself in several industries, and how I train to overcome the delay objection. And maybe this is something you can pull into your sales process or train on with your sales team. Hey, my name is Taylor. I like business. I like sales, marketing, politics, family, faith, guns, and working out. And I make these videos to hopefully just help people either scale their business, build their family, improve their faith, and just make a lasting impact on people. So let's get into this. The delay objection itself is not an objection. So it's not a real concern. It's typically, literally, it's delaying the decision. And so it is a layer in front of the real concern. So essentially, when you get think about it objections, you have to be thinking, okay, this is the screen in front of their real concern, and I need to understand the real concern. Because if you don't understand the real concern, you can't solve that problem, because objection handling is problem solving. And if you view it as problem solving, you're gonna have a much better go at this. That's number one. The second thing, though, is thinking about it can be a logistical decision-making process, meaning like if you're in the B2B space, and they need to think on this, or they need to delay the decision, there could be a logistical reason, because they need to talk to so-and-so, or they need to talk to the stakeholder, or they need a budget approved, or etc. But unless you uncover that and you know exactly what it is and what the next steps are for the sales process, then you could be losing sales as well. B2B will more often be that logistical, like, decision-making process. Like, they need to go through this process, and you don't want to burn the bridge. And so you want to tread lightly if you're in B2B. When you get to think about it objection, I'm going to show you the word tracks and how to overcome that. If you're in B2C, it's more often a smokescreen for fear, right? They just don't want to make a bad decision. Maybe they don't trust themselves. Maybe they don't trust others. And then another thing, if you're sales guys, or if you're a salesperson, you're getting a lot of think about objections, look at the length of your calls. Because I've noticed after reviewing thousands and thousands of sales calls that the longer the call goes, the more often think about it objections happen. And that's simply because there's more information to digest. So you have this long, drawn-out sales call. There's a bunch of information given. It's like when you go to Cheesecake Factory and they got the huge menu and the server keeps coming back. Have you decided? Have you decided? Because you're like, no, I'm still on page 4 and there's freaking 25 pages in this menu. Versus when you go to In-N-Out and it's 1, 2, or 3, you walk up 2. You walk up 3. Hey, add the shake, right? So you want to condense your sales calls. Now, I understand that in B2B with more technical sales, like in cybersecurity or in tech or whatever, and there's a lot of education on the implementation and whatnot. I understand that, but I'm just saying, if you guys can shorten your sales process more and more, you will get less delay objections. The other thing is you're not actually building internal urgency for the prospect. Now, what do I mean by this? External urgency would be like, hey, sign up because spots are almost gone. Hey, the price is this today and tomorrow it's that. Those are external drivers of creating urgency. And it's not like they don't work, but I have noticed in a sales environment, it can trigger certain people, it can lose trust with certain people. And honestly, even if it does work in the moment for the sale, because it wasn't internal, it can still lead to a cancellation or a clawback or whatever. Internal urgency would be you have a section in your sales process that elicits their own case. Like, they're telling you why they need to move now, why they need to change now, why do they need to buy now. And so some of those consequence related questions would be like, hey, so you can be real with me. I guess if you guys don't increase the quality of your lead then, and so your sales team isn't able to make more sales, what would happen to the business then? And then they would share the consequences if they don't make a change. And then you could follow that up with, I guess for you guys, why make this change now then, as opposed to, I don't know, like putting this off until next quarter? Then they'll give you the reason why they want to do it now this quarter as opposed to next quarter. So having some of those strategic questions baked into the sales process before you pitch, before you present, before you give the numbers and the offer, you want them to build a case for themselves of why they should create internal urgency to act and make a change. So that comes in the sales process. So now let's assume you've done all that correctly, and now we get to the end. Let's go over B2B first. Okay, so let's say someone is like, hey, this sounds great. We can maybe get back to you like next week. Or maybe they say, hey, awesome, we'll discuss this with the team and get back to you. Or they might be like, hey, I'm not sure yet. Let us think on this a bit more, and then like we can get back. So you guys might be hearing that objection, that think about it objection a lot. So there's 3 steps to this. First is you got to disarm them. 2 is you got to do more discovery. And then 3, after you do discovery, you can either move to the close again, or you can talk about what will be the steps when we do follow up. But there's a few things that I like to do here. So disarm. In B2B, if someone is like, hey, this sounds great, maybe we can get back to you next week. Be like, hey, yeah, no problem. Next week, I'm gonna have to look at that. And John, why don't I just pull up my calendar right now? Because I don't wanna feel like you're having to chase me down, or I'm having to chase you down. Looks like my Monday's pretty booked. I could probably squeeze you guys in on like Wednesday or Thursday. What day would be better for you guys? They're like, oh, this day. So then you lock in the time with them. And you see what you're doing is you're not be like, oh yeah, I'll follow up. Well, when do you guys want me to follow up? That lowers your status. That makes you look like a weasel. What you want to do is make them feel like you are not a weasel, like you're on the same playing field, if not above them in status, because that elicits respect. It shows that you're not just like hungry to follow up and get the deal. Like you have clients that you're serving, and you've got stuff that you're doing. And then to do more discovery, you would be like, obviously, John, you guys are going to have to look at this because you're maybe not exactly sure if this is the solution for you or not. I guess what else are you guys needing to look at between now and Wednesday to know if you should even move forward on this? That question will open up the floodgates to their real concern. And they might be like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of implementation that's going to happen on the dev team. We want to talk with them and see if they've got room on their plate for something like this. Because then you could be like, oh, how much time would you think the dev team would need based on what we discussed today? Like, I don't know, it looks like it could take them 10 to 15 hours a week on this. Oh, well, actually, I'm glad you brought this up because we do X, Y, and Z, so that way your dev team only has to do this piece and this piece, which in our experience with all of our clients, we've got over 100, it really only requires about 3 to 4 hours a week. See, now you've overcome the real concern, but you see, you had to disarm them and get on the same side of the table, understand, discover what the real concern was, so that way you can overcome it. Or if it is truly logistical, they're like, I need to talk with the dev team because I know it's 5 hours a week. I want to make sure they have capacity for this, right? And you could still be a good creative salesperson and be like, let's assume they don't have the 5 hours budgeted now. Do you, John, think it would be appropriate to discuss things with the dev team so that this was a priority so you guys could move the business forward? Because if they don't, what's going to happen with your guys' growth if you guys don't implement this technology? See, then you're reminding them that like, hey, you don't have the budget right now. You need to make the budget. So it's great to disarm by putting the next time that we're going to follow up, and then doing discovery, and then making the close. And then the last question then, let's say it's logistical, they still do need time. Maybe they do need to get a sign off from somebody else. Maybe they do need a budget approved. Maybe they're like, this sounds great, I just need my CFO to sign off on it. Awesome. Okay, so when you go talk with the CFO, is there any reason why he wouldn't sign off on this for you guys? No, he's gonna be all in. I literally just see he has to sign. That's the way our business works. Otherwise I can't get the money. No problem. So I have us booked for Wednesday at 2 o'clock. When we do meet on Wednesday, in your mind, what do you see as the appropriate next steps from there? And you want to hear them say, yeah, we're gonna get you the funds, sign the contract, move forward. By asking that question though, it puts the expectation out on the table with your sales process. So that way you don't get to Wednesday and then there's another call and then there's another call. Like you want to be like, hey, so when we do follow up, what do you see as the appropriate next steps on that day? Let's look at B2C. B2C again is you can press a little bit harder here on the think about it objection. So you might be getting stuff like this. Okay, got it. Let me just think about this some more and I can get back. Or they'll say, hey, got it. Well, I'd like to pray on this some more and then maybe you can email me. Or, okay, I have a lot to think on here. What's the best way to get back to you? So the first option is you essentially are affirming the fact that they don't feel certain. And you say this so that you can build trust with them and get discovery. So you disarm. You're like, it seems like you're not feeling 100% on this then, so I must have missed something. What else are you needing to look at to know if you should move forward on this or not? See, that gives discovery that opens up the doors to the real concern. If they're needing to think about it, think about what? The second option is you can disarm the person by setting the follow-up, but you make sure the follow-up is within 2 to 3 days. Follow-ups for B2C that are longer than 2 to 3 days, they don't show, and then they get so emotionally detached from this conversation and need that they forget about it. So the disarming would be like, hey, no problem. Maybe what I can do is pull up my calendar because I want to make sure I'm actually available for you. Yeah, I can't do tonight. What would maybe like Thursday or Friday look like for you? And then you schedule it, and then you could say, and you know, John, just so I stay organized on my side, between now and when we talk on Friday, I guess what will you be needing to look at specifically to know if you should move forward? And then you'll get the real concern again. Option 3 is similar to option 1, but it's just a little bit stronger. Hey, that's not a problem. I mean, the fact that you need some more time actually tells me that this potentially may not be the best solution for you. Could you maybe help me understand what you're thinking? And then they'll say the real concern, right? Now, you might do that and they might be like, everything's good, everything's great, I love it. I just always decide like this, or I just always think this way. And this is where you can start to challenge a belief, right? Because they might have a bad belief because they've had something bad in the past happen. This is where you could step in and be like, okay, so is this sort of the normal way you come to different decisions concerning XYZ? Yeah, totally. Well, do you think I can maybe tell you something without offending you too much? Do you feel like that way of decision making has gotten you to where you want to be concerning XYZ? Not really. So would you be open to maybe having a different decision-making process so you can get into the position that you want to be, which would be A, B, and C? Yeah, totally. What's making you not feel 100% to move forward right now? And then, so that sort of meeting them, well, I just always take 24 hours, right? Or it is just, this is how I make decisions. You can challenge the decision-making process. Or if they're like, yeah, I just don't make rash decisions. Yeah, that's good. What makes you feel like this is rash? Or if they say, I just don't make fast decisions. Oh yeah, that's good. I guess what makes you feel like this is fast? Well, I just met you. I just found out about your guys' company or something to that effect. And then you would say, well, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I know we just started talking. But I guess how long have you been considering solving X, Y, and Z? Well, for this amount of time. Well, fast or rash decisions, those obviously come from impulse decisions where you don't explore or understand the problem. But once it's understood and you see the path to solving it, that decision can and should be swift. So I guess, is there any reason why you don't think our solution is the path forward for you? And if they say no, then you'd be like, great, well, would it help you then if we move forward? So you see, you're redirecting their logic or their way of thinking. So hopefully this was helpful. I gave you some specific word tracks. We did B2B, we did B2C, and you just have to realize you want to disarm, discover, because you want to peel back this think about it objection and find the real concern, overcome the concern. In B2B, you will more often have to be soft, disarm, and be delicate with the follow-up process, but you control the follow-up process. With B2C, you're gonna have to press against this a little bit more, but doing it in the way that I showed you. Hopefully this helps.